Welcome to Getting Your Money's Worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guest today is Martin Rosen, co-founder of Health Advocates, Inc., correct?
Yes.
And author of the Healthcare Survival Guide. Healthcare Survival Guide. You should be selling these in the trillions. So tell me something. Hey, welcome to the show, Marty.
Thank you.
Is it Marty?
Yeah. Marty.
Oh,
thank you for having me.
You're welcome. My pleasure. Tell me, how were you so smart as to write something on healthcare right now at this time? Well, from personal experience, so you have a hotline into the White House? Tell me.
Well, Judith, my career has been, 30 plus years in the healthcare and insurance area.
Oh, wow, you're still walking?
Standing.
And standing, right.
And my partner and I, who's the co-author, we recognized that, during these unprecedented economic times, that we knew a lot of information that could help the unfortunate millions of Americans who are out of work. And as a consequence of being out of work, they probably have lost their health insurance coverage. So they have difficult trade-offs, and we wanted to make a contribution to help them.
But you know something, Marty, we're going to get into that, but it ain't like, pardon my expression, it ain't like those folks who are working have such terrific health care options either.
That's true in many cases, and actually the subtitle of the book is for the suddenly unemployed and anybody else who wants to save money. So we have a lot of tips in the book for everybody.
For anybody.
For everybody.
But let's start with your primary audience first, the unemployed. We have an unemployment rate of about 10%. And many folks think it's much higher than that because of all the stealth. And I certainly, the under 30, it's much more like 18, 20%. What are those folks to do? Not get health services?
Well, it is clearly a challenge, and what we try to do in the book is break out into several.
So give us some tips now. Well, so what can folks do who are unemployed, have no health insurance, and in need of medical services? You have a few tips for them?
Yes, we do. First of all, in terms of prescription drugs, for example,
yes, okay,
very costly. There are a number of drug companies who actually provide low or free pharmaceuticals depending upon your economic status. For instance, Johnson & Johnson has a website in the book, and we'll give you the website in a moment that you can get our book for free. Download the entire book for free. Okay. Johnson & Johnson actually makes available...
We'll put this up on the screen later, okay.
Pfizer does the same thing.
Right.
So there
So what do you do, write a letter?
Yeah, actually, all you need to do is go to their website and apply, provide the documentation, and see if you qualify.
Okay,
Not everybody qualifies.
Okay, but good tips.
Precisely.
So you can go to pharmaceutical house and get low price or
free,
or indeed no cost drugs. Very good tip. Next.
Another tip, and I'm going to start on ancillary services. I'm going to go back to medical services, dental coverage or dental care.
Dentists are expensive these
very
days,
expensive,
Marty.
And a lot of people, even who are working, Judith, can't
afford it.
And don't even have coverage as well.
I'm going through it right now. I can tell you it's a lot of money.
It is. And another tip is that a number of the dental schools right here in New York City have dental clinics. And their dental residents provide low cost, in some cases even free services if you qualify. So that's another example.
And they have dental schools throughout the country.
That's
not just
correct.
So you could. What do you? So again, you look it up.
Actually in the book we have references and guides.
Yeah, exactly. And but we want to tell people here who might not be seeing your book.
Precisely.
So after you go to a dental, you look it up, or
or contact the local dental school in your area and find out.
Okay, those are two very good tips.
One of the tips that goes throughout this conversation is just ask.
Just ask.
And a lot of people don't realize that what's available. Let me give you another major tip from the book, which we found from our research. 61% of the people who asked their doctor for a discount actually got a discount. And what people don't realize is that depending upon how they go about asking, they've had a relationship with a doctor, they've lost a job, many professionals will try to work out a plan, including giving them a discount. Not only doctors, hospitals. Yeah. So there is an opportunity.
Just ask is a very good tip. I belong to the Just Ask school myself, and I just asked recently, and I just got recently. So I agree with you that Just Ask is very good. I want to ask you something, though. We'll talk about this one. For those folks who are on Medicare and go to doctors who accept Medicare, people tell me that they're starting to get a flood of statements, bills from the same doctors saying it's $15 more, or $20 more, or $25 more. If they accept Medicare, isn't that supposed to be the end of it?
Well, there is, even with Medicare, a copay.
To the doctors?
Under Medicare, it's not 100% coverage.
So
Medicare
Part B or something,
B,
there isn't.
precisely.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we had some really
But that doesn't mean, if I could just also add as well, is that if they have any questions, they should go back to the doctor, make sure that it's within the guidelines of Medicare, and there's always the opportunity to go to the local Medicare office to, get their assistance
I think that you make a point in your book, and after all, you call yourself, the Healthcare Survival Guide, but I like that you call your company Health Advocates, Inc.
Right.
And I think that you make a point about being an advocate for the people who are receiving the services. Now, I know you advise companies, but my sense of it is that you are helping people get better services and not helping the insurance companies charge more.
Well, absolutely. We started our company 10 years ago from scratch, my 4 partners and myself. Today, we have more than 6,000 clients on the nation's largest companies. About 17 million Americans are eligible for our services through their workplace. And I could tell you that there's any number of things that a service like ours is doing to help them navigate through a healthcare and an insurance issue. It's maddening, unfortunately, and what the service we provide helps people is having somebody who's an expert.
After all, I don't want to take too much time, after all, it isn't like the healthcare industry didn't somehow get to some of this space on their own. There were abuses. Now, it may not be altogether fair to them, but there were many abuses along the way that brought us to this place that we are now in healthcare.
Well, I think there's a combination of issues, and clearly in every industry there are abuses. Right. Healthcare is unlike anything else. It deals with life and death to begin with. And another part of healthcare, it's almost, think about a foreign language as you're trying to learn the nuances. So with healthcare, it's so complicated. Even professionals, quite frankly, don't fully understand
or
all
agree.
of the... Precisely.
Right.
Precisely.
Okay. All right. But we're on a good roll here. So we've gone through prescription, we've gone through dental services. Now let's get to the heart of it. What about the engine, the primary medical care, doctor care?
I think this. I already mentioned the issue of asking for discounts. But let me give you another very, very important example. And I think Americans are beginning to recognize this, because historically in this country, you had very rich insurance coverage where most people didn't pay very much out of pocket, either through the premium or copays.
Right.
So they were immune to these cost increases
and didn't pay much attention.
Precisely. Those days are gone. So now, with the emphasis where the consumer has first dollar responsibility, no longer first dollar coverage, first dollar responsibility.
Good point.
Another important point that we point out in the book is shopping around. You'd be surprised, and we have a feature of our company called Health Cost Estimator, that within a zip code, we could have an example of, for example, a total hip replacement, which would range from $20,000 in one hospital to more than $55,000 in another hospital.
Really?
It really is.
Really is true.
Absolutely. And the reason is that there are some mitigating factors. Sometimes the extent of the type of surgery to be done, but a lot of it relates to the nature of that hospital. So if you go to a local community hospital where they sometimes can do advanced procedures, versus a very sophisticated tertiary care teaching hospital, you're going to be paying a lot more because the overhead in those hospitals are just much more expensive. That doesn't mean people shouldn't go there. It means that they should shop around. That's really the message.
But here's the thing, Marty, in shopping around, and I've thought about this myself with medical services. If you shop around for a Chevrolet Impala, if they even make those anymore, or a Dell laptop computer, it's a commodity. You can match. How do you shop around for a hip replacement?
Well,
or any other kind of surgery? To the consumer, what's your gauge for judging the quality?
You're absolutely right. Not only what your gauge is for the quality, but what your ability is for transparency in terms of understanding cost.
Right.
Having said that, over the last several years, there's more information available. There are services like ours which actually provide some of the answers to those things. It is not a perfect system by any means, but increasingly, one of the things that I've seen in speaking to media, individuals like you and others, is that today there's more of a responsibility on the consumer, and also there's more of an impact in terms of the consequence of shopping around. Think about how we as Americans shop around for a gallon of gas, for a quart of milk. The impact of shopping around of healthcare is much more significant. Having said that, quality is a very important factor. It's one of the factors to look at. And I think that a good consumer is an informed consumer.
Right. And there are some questions, I think, too, in your book that you can certainly could ask, like how many times you've done it, or what's the number of procedures. The other thing that as an advocate of the consumer, the healthcare consumer, Marty, that's I think is a good point to bring out here is you really have to suck it up and have certain guts. You've got to be not intimidated by the medical profession. It's okay to say, how much is your fee, and how do you expect me to pay it, and is there any discount, and what's your success record? It's okay to ask questions.
You're absolutely right, and I think, again, historically, a lot of individuals were intimidated. They would never ask those questions.
Sometimes doctors don't even want to discuss their fees with you. Discuss it with the nurse.
Very true, but I think that those days are changing, and changing very quickly. And I think it's all about how you approach somebody. Clearly, a doctor has many years of training. They're a professional. They deserve the courtesy and respect. Having said that, I think more and more, I've done it myself, that they're not offended by asking those questions. They want to be as transparent as they can. But again, the system is changing. It's changing quickly. It's not perfect yet.
Right. But I'll tell you one thing that can help with the change. We have this healthcare survival guide.
Right.
Yeah. And
let me, if I can, just for your audience, if they go to either healthcaresurvivalguide.com or healthadvocate.com, they can get a copy for free.
All right, healthadvocate.com or
healthcaresurvivalguide.com.
Okay. Right, we'll put that up on the screen. It's a short read, but I want to tell you something. I thought to myself, you know what? When I go to the doctor, I'm going to put this in my briefcase. I think that will help me with my questions right off, just at the toe. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
You're doing good service with this book.
Thank you.
You're watching Getting Your Money's Worth. I'm Judith West. Thanks for watching.